100 amazing facts around the world.
In 1974, the city of Tanner, Alabama, was hit by two F5 tornadoes in 30 minutes. A man injured in the first tornado was taken to a church in the area, which collapsed in the second tornado, killing him. During World War II, a U.S. naval destroyer won a battle against a Japanese submarine by throwing potatoes at them. The Japanese thought they were grenades. The Ponzi scheme is named for Charles Ponzi, a swindler who got rich using pyramid schemes and other illegal methods in 1920s Boston. Only 4 months after it was erected in 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in Washington collapsed in a windstorm. The average fast food eater swallows 12 pubic hairs per year. Buzz Aldrin was the first man to pee on the moon. He did so shortly after stepping off the spacecraft. Google was originally called Backrub. If you received all the gifts from the song, The 12 Days of Christmas, you would have 364 presents. You use 72 different muscles every time you talk. Filipinos use social media more than Americans. Between adult users in the Philippines, 93% use social networking sites, which is quite higher than the 74% that use it in the US. In 1971, the first ever computer virus was developed. Named Creeper, it was made as an experiment just to see how it spread between computers. The virus simply displayed the message, "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can." Flight attendants do not get paid until the plane leaves the gate. To prevent pregnancy, Indonesian Batoks insert bamboo or the sharp part of a leaf into a woman's vagina. Scientists use the dry, dusty Atacama Desert in Chile to practice researching on Mars. During the 1977 New York City blackout, looters and vandals caused $300 million worth of damage, breaking into more than 1,600 businesses and setting more than 1,000 fires. A 22-year-old woman, Hilda Clayton, an Army combat photographer and visual information specialist with 55th Signal Company, captured her last photo, and the moment of her death when a mortar shell exploded in the launch tube during a training exercise with Afghan soldiers. Some zoos take donated Christmas trees and use them as food for the animals. Wearing a hat on your head helps warm your feet. Vision uses 1/3 of all your brain power. There are only 21 million bitcoins that can be mined in total. It is estimated that digital technology could reduce global carbon emissions by 20% by 2030. That's equal to getting rid of 100% of China's emissions, plus an additional 1.5 billion tons. First ever recorded fraud was around 360 BC. In ancient Greece, an herb called silphion became so popular as a natural oral contraceptive that the plant was extinct by 100 CE. Cold and remote, the northern Siberian taiga stretches over 62,000 square miles, a quarter of Russia's territory. There are no known inhabitants in these rarely explored woodlands, which are similar in density to Amazonian jungles. Hurricanes with women's names kill more people than those with men's. A Russian queen named Olga buried nobles alive, burned the royalty, slayed everyone at her husband's funeral, and set their remaining town on fire, with birds, because they killed her king. You will likely get more than 600 colds in your lifetime. A porcupine can have 30,000 quills. The top 3 most used passwords are 123456, password, and 12345. Definitely don't use any of those next time you need a password change. The author of Mary Had a Little Lamb, Sarah Josepha Hale, is most responsible for the creation of Thanksgiving being a national holiday. A ship owner called Hagestradus insured a ship loaded with corn. In fact, the ship had an empty hold, and he planned to sink his vessel, make it back to shore on a raft, and pocket the value of the boat and the non-existent corn. Early Egyptians used tampons made of wool dipped in honey and acacia to prevent pregnancy. Fermented acacia contains an ingredient used in modern spermicides. The Amazon rainforests of Brazil are so vast that in 2011, the Brazilian government discovered a never-before-contacted tribe living deep in the jungle near Peru. Seth MacFarlane, creator of Family Guy, had a ticket booked for one of the ill-fated 9/11 flights but missed it. The only clear footage of the first plane hitting the World Trade Center on 9/11 was filmed by French filmmakers Jules and Gideon Naudet, who were making a documentary on a Manhattan firehouse. Bees visit about 5 million flowers to make one average-sized jar of honey. The total earthworm population in the United States weighs 10 times more than the total human population. CAPTCHA is a long acronym. It stands for Completely Automatic Public Turning Test to tell computers and humans apart. Cruise ships have morgues that can store up to 10 bodies at once. The average amount of people that die on cruise ships per year is 200. Times Square was originally called Longacre Square until it was renamed in 1904 after the New York Times moved its headquarters to the newly built Times building. Anti-aliasing refers to the techniques used to deal with signals that become indistinguishable from one another, usually in an image or sound frequency. In computer graphics, this involves making jagged curves or lines smoother in appearance. A cockroach will eat almost anything, including dead skin and dirty clothes. On average, Americans spend over 11 hours a day consuming digital media. The dollar sign was introduced in the late 1700s. Steve Martin and Martin Short both turned down the role of Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber. Originally, the Farrelly brothers didn't know who Jim Carrey was and was only told that he was the white guy on In Living Color series. 50 tons of trash is expected after the Times Square New Year's Eve bash. It typically takes 12 to 16 hours to clean up after the event. Recycling one soda can save enough energy to run a TV for 3 hours. A jiffy is a real measurement. A jiffy is an actual measurement of time, referring to the length of one cycle of the computer's system clock, about 10 milliseconds. Daniel Radcliffe was allergic to his Harry Potter glasses. He had an allergy to nickel, and they were quickly replaced with hypoallergenic specs. If you cut down a cactus in Arizona, you'll be penalized up to 25 years in jail. It is similar to cutting down a protected tree species. In 2008, 2 men in Sydney, Australia, were arrested and one was hospitalized after attempting to rob a nightclub during a monthly bikers meeting. The would-be robbers were beaten by dozens of bikers until police arrived. The toxins produced by mold are invisible and can penetrate food. Even if you remove visible mold from foods, toxins can remain and cause illness if eaten. In the 19th century, there was a popular cough medicine for kids called Mr. S. Winslow's Soothing Syrup, which contained morphine. The longest ever spacewalk lasted around 9 hours. The skin of a honey badger is tough enough to resist several machete blows and is almost impervious to arrows and spears. Less than 25% of people actually stay committed to their New Year's resolutions after just 30 days, and only 8% accomplish them. Some wild turkeys run up to 25 miles an hour. The first Wendy's was opened on November 15, 1969, in Columbus, Ohio, United States. Back then, the restaurant was called Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers, but people referred to it as Wendy's for short. If you point your car keys to your head, it increases the remote signal range. This works by using your brain to act as a radio transmitter. Elvis was originally blonde. He started coloring his hair black for an edgier look. Sometimes, he would touch it up himself using shoe polish. In 2008, in Ontario, Canada, a man telephoned a local convenience store to ask how much money was in the register. When the would-be robber arrived at the store, police were waiting and arrested him. In 1971, astronaut Al Shepard played golf on the moon. Rat has become a common meal in a number of Asian countries. Vendors in Thailand sell them both raw and roasted. Barbecued rat, which can be found in Vietnam and Cambodia, is said to have a stringier consistency than chicken. In the 1880s, cocaine was sold as a medicine to cure sore throats, headaches, colds, and sleeplessness. Abraham Lincoln and Karl Marx exchanged friendly letters and discussed their similar views on the exploitation of labor. There are 1,900 species of edible insects on Earth. People who post their fitness routine on Facebook are more likely to have psychological problems. A spacesuit costs about $10 million. Violin bows are commonly made from horsehair. There is an island called Just Enough Room, where there's just enough room for a tree and a house. Located on the St. Lawrence River, which crosses the Canada-US border, this tiny island is part of the well-known Thousand Islands archipelago. A man claiming to have a bomb burst into a radio station in Wanganui, New Zealand, in 1996 and demanded that the DJ play The Rainbow Connection by Kermit the Frog. When Norway fired a research rocket toward Russia in 1997, Norwegian officials forgot to alert the Russian government, nearly causing a retaliatory strike from that country. 1 out of every 250 U.S. citizens worked on the Manhattan Project during the Second World War. A cluster of bananas is called a hand. Along that theme, a single banana is called a finger. Over 1/3 of the U.S. population visits Walmart each week. Swedish meatballs originated from a recipe King Charles XII brought back from Turkey in the early 1800s. Red-lipped batfish is actually a pretty bad swimmer, so it uses its highly adapted pectoral fins that are large enough to help it walk across the ocean floor. Only 0.1% of bacteria actually make you sick. A bat can eat 3,000 insects in one night. In World War II, Germany tried to collapse the British economy by dropping millions of counterfeit bills over London. When a Murfreesboro, Tennessee, man called police in August 2013 to report the theft of his safe, he also told them what was inside the missing safe, a large amount of marijuana and drug money. That's when the police told him that he was under arrest. If you heat up a magnet, it will lose its magnetism. In 1913, a man falsely yelled fire at a crowded Christmas Eve party in Calumet, Michigan, setting off a stampede that killed 74 people, most of them children. In 2006, the term to Google was recognized by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary and the Oxford English Dictionary. There are more people on Facebook than there were on Earth 200 years ago. When President Roosevelt visited the Pentagon in 1945 before its dedication, he ordered them to remove the whites-only signs and therefore making the Pentagon the only building in Virginia where segregation laws were not enforced until 1965. The town of Larkhall, Scotland, hates the color green so strongly that their sandwich chain Subway is painted in black instead. Applesauce was the first food eaten in space by an American astronaut. Wendy's is named after the founder's daughter. China is spending $3 billion to build panda-shaped solar farms in order to get more young people interested in renewable energy. Olympic gold medalist Stella Walsh was considered one of the fastest female athletes of her time until her death, when she was discovered to have a penis. A Japanese commercial 727 crashed in 1971 after being struck by a student pilot. All 162 people aboard the commercial jet died, but the flight student parachuted to safety. Steve Wozniak was so good at Tetris, he was the #1 player in the USA for many years. He got banned from submitting his scores to Nintendo Power magazine. Apple iPhone screens are mostly made by Samsung. 160,00 people simultaneously sang Garth Brooks' Friends in Low Places at the start of a NASCAR Bristol event in 2009. This earned them a Guinness World Record for largest karaoke. In the aftermath of the Iranian embassy siege in London, an SAS trooper tried to take the only surviving gunman, Fawzi Nejad, back into the building to shoot him but changed his mind when he realized the raid was being broadcast on live television. If grasshoppers were the size of people, they could leap the length of a basketball court. Almost 90% of snow is air. Forest fires can travel faster uphill than downhill. Elvis Presley's favorite movie was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. He would sometimes rent out a movie theater to do midnight screenings of this movie with his friends.
World Top 20.
Thanks for watching.
For more videos, please like the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel.
We wish you a fruitful day ahead.
And remember, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.